you for joining our 44 New Voices interview series. My name is Zanira Ghulamhussain, and this week we are joined by Zebedayo Masongo. Zebedayo is an entrepreneur native to New Jersey. He is the CEO of the Grnwood, a media company dedicated to the authentic storytelling and showcasing of Black entrepreneurs and creatives. Zebedayo, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's get into it. Where did the idea of the Grnwood come from?
I was 4 or 5 businesses in, 0 for 4 or 0 for 5. And I was trying to find a mentor, a Black mentor, because I figured, the reason why this is probably not working is probably because I don't have the right guidance. And so I said, let me create a platform where I'm interviewing Black creatives, Black entrepreneurs, and then, at some point during that interview process, I will then have enough information to then go and do what it is I want to do. And then after maybe 2 or 3 interviews, I was like, no, this is this this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then, the name was decided before that point. And then, it was kind of a snowball effect about everything that happened next.
So the Grnwood has a special meaning behind the name. Can you share the significance behind it and why you chose it?
Yeah, so in the early 1900s, a little bit after emancipation, Black people all around the country were essentially trying to find their place as a newly emancipated group of people, trying to find their place in this country. So essentially, different communities around the country were actually relatively hostile towards African Americans. So it was always special when we can be in a community which we were comfortable in. Tulsa, Oklahoma, essentially, was one of those communities that Black people tended to migrate towards. And it started with like a couple entrepreneurs, a couple real estate guys and girls, and then eventually it grew into this booming community of affluent Black people in the Grnwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you have salons, grocery stores, schools, churches, like just a community of affluent African Americans. And at this time, early 1900s, it's the place that one of the places in this country where people might want to go, especially Black people, because they're comfortable there and they feel welcome there. Unfortunately, there was a race massacre, the Tulsa race massacre of 1921, and this community is destroyed. You have multiple blocks, hundreds of people die. And this once affluent community now is essentially nowhere. And there were times and different kinds of people that wanted to rebuild it after that point, but some of those efforts were thwarted by one thing or another. And eventually at some point, there was like a highway just put right through the Grnwood district and that area in general. And we never got a chance to actually rebuild. So naming it Grnwood in many ways is me attempting to build a digital version of the community that was destroyed. And so I have all these conversations, I talk to these people, and I tell all these super authentic stories. And eventually I want people to be able to go on the Grnwood site and then see people who look like them at essentially, our highest taste level.
Wow, that is extremely significant.
Mm-hmm.
So you say you're an entrepreneur. Where did you get your entrepreneurial spirit? Who inspires you?
I think probably, my parents. And I just remember being younger and my dad essentially saying, the last thing that we want to do is grow up and have to work for people. And he told us that from when we were younger. This wasn't, and it wasn't, and it was a very like cautionary tale. Like, guys, like the world is not what you think it is. If you really want to get some of the things you want to get, and me and my brothers would talk very much about all of the things we wanted in this world and everything we wanted to take from this world. And my dad was very honest with us. He was like, you don't get any of those things if you work for somebody else. Like some of the things you're describing, the way you imagine this life, the lifestyle you want to live, you don't get it unless you work for yourself. And so my dad kind of hammered that home, and he would just tell us things here and there. Like sometimes he'd be like, the last thing you want to do is be, is ask somebody to take a day off. Like something simple as that. Like he was like, if you want to take a day off, you should be able to take a day off. And he told us that from young. And he was like, if you guys do the right things, you might have an opportunity to get to that point. But that point doesn't happen if you work for somebody else. And so he kind of planted that seed early, and then it didn't take long. Like it didn't really click until later in life, but it didn't take long. You send your resume to a few places, you get denied a few times, you have a few jobs you hate. There are days you go to work and you don't really feel well, and you realize, I shouldn't actually be doing this. Like I'm working super hard for a job that will actually replace me as soon as I leave. Really doesn't care about my well-being. And then, as I really tried to figure out my way in this world, it was like I have certain gifts, a very specific set of skills, and it'll be of much better use if I just did my own thing.
So, wow. So you have a lot going on though. Like this just speaks into who you are as a person because you're not
Yeah.
only the CEO of the Greenwood, you're also a student. So, yeah, what are your shortcuts to successfully handling that frustration and stress? Like what is it that you do to where you can juggle both things successfully?
Um, I I write excessively. So I have special book. I write in this excessively. I write like my days. I write this is what I'm supposed to get done today. This is what I got done yesterday. If I hear a quote, I write it down. If I'm frustrated, I write it down. So I write everything here. And so I treat this like my brain. And so for me, I put my brain on paper, and I've been doing that since I was like 13, 14. And so now being in law school and doing the business at the same time, in the back of this book, I have essentially, the year is 2025. This is what my day looks like in 2025. So I have it written down. So I know, and I've seen it, and I use that to hold myself accountable. And I have, if I do everything I'm supposed to do, I'll be here in this time. If I don't, I'll be here. And I have, this is what I can control, this is what I can't control. And I have it all it's documented. And so for law school, it's like, I'm here. I know that I'm here specifically to build a network. I'm here to get a law degree, which to some people is going to probably mean more than me starting the company. But I know that it adds on to all the skills that I'll need to be able to take this to the next level. So one of the ways that I manage my stress is I write things down obsessively almost, and I take days off. Like like I rest. So if I need to nap, I'll take a nap. If I just want to watch a movie, I'll watch a movie. I'm not gonna work myself um, too much, but I have pushed the limits of what I can do physically, as far as like how long I can be up, how long I can go without sleep. I've done those days, I've done those nights. So because I've done that, I kind of know myself well to kind of be able to manage the ups and downs of doing everything at the same time.
Dang, that's inspiring. I need that. I need that a lot. So with, everything going on in your life, what is, next for you going forward and what can we expect coming from you or Greenwood?
I think currently, bringing in more writers, expanding the team is probably something I'm really focused on. I'm not really That's really important to me. I've been doing it, by myself with help here and there, but mostly by myself for this whole time. And I know that for us to take us to the next level, I have to expand the team. And so for me, um, this summer is about building the team. And also, since we just like maybe last week, officially the trademark is registered. I knew it was fine like from December, November, but then it just officially got registered because there's like a lag in time frame. And so designing the first collection for merch or for something. I don't even really want to call it merch because merch is just that really downplays what I'm trying to do with the clothing. I'll call it a moment. So designing the first moment for fall maybe, or winter, and then figuring out production for a YouTube series and stuff like that, and really expanding the brand, and hopefully Greenwood Africa, UK, and all that other stuff. So just doing more, honestly. There's a lot. So just doing more. You just
You
expect,
thrive.
yeah, just expect me to do the absolute most. Like I just want to do everything that can positively contribute to culture. And as you've seen, and I think as people can see based on everything we're doing, we do our own thing. Like I'm not following anyone. I'm not following the trends. I'm not fighting for clickbait or hashtags. We have a very specific goal and we're doing our own thing. So just making sure I remain focused and I don't just, become a follower. In order for us to control culture, we have to be above it in many ways. So just staying above culture.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Zebedayo, for joining us. And make sure to tune in next week for our next 44 New Voices interview.